So next up we've got the 2012 movie by Brian De Palma, Passion, which is an erotically charged thriller, which is supposedly a remake of a French film from a couple years prior called Love Crime, I believe, or from what I've read, which is kind of funny because this is still somewhat a French production, I think also German, but it seems we've almost reached the next stage of evolution with countries remaking their own movies only a year or two later. You've gotta love that. Anyways, I've heard this has a very different ending, so I don't know how insistent they are on counting this as an actual remake, but there you go. Anywho, it pretty much focuses on these two business women, one who's the boss of this firm or company, whatever you want to call it, and the other who is her subordinate. They have some catty backstabbing happen between the two, and eventually it leads to some murder and mystery as the film progresses. I don't think there's really much else to say about the story. I mean, there's a few twists and turns they try and throw in. It's a Brian De Palma movie. You can kind of if you've seen some of his other stuff, you're definitely going to see a lot of the same stuff in this movie. And it's kind of I guess you could call it a bit of a throwback to a lot of the movies he was doing, I believe, from, 30 years prior. There was Dress to Kill, Body Double, even Blowout. Yeah, there's some of the movies that he did back then that, and I actually enjoy those movies quite a lot. And so Brian De Palma is actually one of those directors. Now, I don't really have favorite directors, but if I had to choose someone to list, his name may come up. I tend to enjoy his style of filmmaking. I mean, Carrie is one of my all-time favorite movies. I know it's not yours, and I'm expecting you to not have good things to say, but no, I enjoy his style. I don't think this is one of his stronger movies, but yeah, it's still got something for me and fans of his work, I think.
Out of interest, is that why you came to this movie? You said that he directed it and then you just watched it?
The funny thing is, no. I actually saw this back in the days where we still had video rental stores, which, this is only, 2012, so I actually still had a video rental store nearby at the time this was a new release. And I was just looking for anything to watch, really, that looked interesting, and it looked like it was a thriller or a horror or something. It was kind of hard to tell, but just looking at the cover and the back of the cover, but I ended up picking it up, and to be honest, I didn't even pay attention to the opening credits when I first watched the movie, so I didn't even see that it had Brian De Palma come up. So I had actually watched the whole thing without knowing he had directed it, just because I wasn't paying attention to the opening credits or even the ending credits. And then the second time, or when I was looking it up, then I knew it for the second time I watched it.
So maybe it's because I don't have much experience with thrillers. I've not seen all that many, to be honest. And this is going to sound like disparaging toward the genre, but thrillers are basically horror movies that were too weak to actually be horror. So they just toned everything down, and I don't know, as someone who focuses mainly on horror, and there are a lot of non-horror movies I love, but as someone who focuses mainly on horror, watching thrillers is sometimes a bit, it's a bit difficult. This movie, to me, it literally seemed like I was watching a low-budget Lifetime production. Like, throughout the whole movie, it's like, hey, was this just one of those Lifetime movies? And, like, the story was okay, it was fine, but I just didn't see what the big deal was. It's okay if you're into this type of movie, The mystery was interesting. I thought the ending was a bit of a mess, to be honest. I thought the ending was somewhat horrible. But before that, I thought the movie was decent. I liked the mystery. I liked, toward the end, and more things I discovered. I was okay with that. But, from the unlikable characters, and talk about a movie with a bunch of unlikable characters, to the, I mean, I was hoping, well, I was sort of thinking what I was getting into, and I was hoping it would be a bit more than what I thought, but, I mean, it's okay for the type of movie it is, but it's not really my type of thing, and I suspect, before anybody goes out of the way to say, oh, hey, I just don't know thrillers, and that's true, it's not my preferred genre, but it just didn't feel like a great movie. It felt like it was okay, but I don't see, even with Brian De Palma directing it, I don't see this as a particularly amazing movie. And to be honest, I just have a hard time imagining many people would see this as an amazing movie, despite some interesting, a few interesting scenes. I just don't see it.
Well, I think when you're talking about comparing thrillers and horrors, how how you see thrillers as basically weak horror movies, I think there's a lot of horror movies that actually, well, a lot of movies that are actually thrillers that the horror genre claims to be theirs.
And actually, if I may say one quick thing, I'm talking more about modern day thrillers. One of my favorite movies, and this is a movie you may or may not have seen, I really don't know. It's a 1962 movie called Cape Fear. It's a fantastic, and it's remade in the 90s. I've not seen the remake. But the original movie I thought was such a fantastic movie, and obviously it's a thriller. And I really enjoyed it. So it's more like the whole like Lifetime epidemic that you see. Pretty much every Lifetime movie they paid up. And I've seen a few, and they're pretty much all the same type of thing, and that's the vibe I got from this. So I guess that's where I was coming from with that.
Just speaking about the movie itself, it is a movie that I think takes a little while to get going. It's a bit sluggish, especially in maybe the first hour. If you're enjoying some of the bickering between the two back and forth, then it's okay. But nothing too dramatic happens until, well, there is one or two small things that happen maybe 30-40 minutes into the movie, but the real big events that start happening in the movie, or the most dramatic events in the movie, start happening about an hour or so in. And I think this is roughly about an hour and 40-minute movie, so it's not too long. And like I said, the ending is a bit, you could say it's a bit messy, or it's a bit confusing, or depending on what you take from it. But I enjoy the over the top suspenseful nature of it. The music playing in the background, and it's almost like it's trying to be more thrilling than it probably is. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's De Palma's style as well, and at least a part that I enjoyed from the movie.
One thing that struck me as amusing, I'm not sure if this is something you noticed, but I like how pretty much every other woman's a lesbian or bisexual in this. It just, I don't know, I was sort of amused by that. Because, like, the main characters, the two women, I mean, to me it's pretty obvious they have, something or they seem to have something for each other. And then there's, other female characters who are also interested in other women. And I don't know, I don't know, I guess this thing took place in Germany, but I don't know, that just was a bit of a culture shock.
Do enjoy the Germans' movies. Well, the funny thing about that is, my wife always says, she if she ever did go lesbian, she would go lesbian with Noomi Rapace, the brunette
Isabel.
in the movie. Yeah. I don't know if, like, even to this day she holds true to that, but she's always said that in the past, so
I can see why.
I mean, it's not necessarily the type of woman I go for, but
Are you more of the Rachel McAdams type guy?
Well, out of the two of them, I would be, but still, I wouldn't exactly say she's my type either. But yeah, out of the two of them, yes.
I guess it's how it's Paul Anderson. So.
Actually, speaking of that, there's two characters in this movie, two different characters who look almost the same.
I think police guy and the
prosecutor. I think it was a prosecutor, and this guy Dirk. They look almost identical. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was watching this movie, obviously this is a movie I've never seen before. And it's a movie I'm probably never going to see again. But when I was watching this and that guy popped up, the prosecutor, I'm like, hey, is that the same guy? Is this like a plot twist going on? But no, it's a different guy. It just
suddenly he's changed professions. He's gone from embezzler to prosecutor.
I mean, that'd be a good cover.
Yeah, that's one way to get out of a crime. It wasn't me.
You can't be arrested if you don't prosecute yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably not how it legally works.
But there's maybe two very small moments in the movie where you actually get to see. I mean, this is by no means anywhere near being called like a slasher or a giallo or anything like that. But I did like the imagery though of some of those moments in the movie with the person wearing the mask and the black gloves and everything. Well, I think it was black gloves. I can't remember now, but they're basically wearing black. Yeah, so just those couple of small moments may do something for someone out there.
That was probably the movie at its highest point. Because this is an issue I sort of mentioned, but seeing these two women go back and forth, I mean, that's not really my idea of entertainment. Like, especially when this is, I think, maybe halfway through the movie-ish, when the blonde woman, the boss, is showing videos at this meeting, and it just shows like the breakdown of the dark-haired woman, and like she keeps, oh, I'm sorry, I can see this really hurts you. Like, I can't stand that level of cattiness. It just, I hate that type of stuff. And they talk about unlikable and like every sense of the word. Like, I don't see why police would even bother investigating this more. Just let it happen.
There's some ballet for you to enjoy along the way.
Well, I did enjoy the split screen. That's obviously a Brian De Palma technique. He uses it quite often, but I did enjoy that. I thought it was so fun. And the drunken Paul Anderson, and he sort of comes in and out of hearing what he's saying, and I enjoyed that too. So it's not like the movie's entirely worthless. It's a decent amount of the movie to enjoy. It's just, like I said, not my type of thing.
Yeah, so it's a bit of I'd say it's a little bit of a messy movie, but for me, it's still got that Brian De Palma style, and I typically enjoy a lot of erotic thrillers. I don't know, I don't mind seeing a titty or two when I watch my movies, and yeah, no, I didn't mind it. I think it was decent, and it's got its moments, and I can certainly see how if you're not really attracted to De Palma's style of filmmaking or thrillers in general, you're probably not going to have much enjoyment with this one. But for me, I enjoyed it enough. I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah, and I'll keep this short because I pretty much said everything I wanted to. I just couldn't get past the fact that, to me, this really felt like a Lifetime movie. Like, the music, I mean, the opera was fine, but like, there's a lot of music near the beginning that just felt like upbeat and like whimsical, and I did get it. I don't know if I'm assuming it was intentional because we're talking about a pretty highly decorated director. But I didn't care for it. The movie was entertaining at times, but I'm going to give this one a below average rating of a 5 out of 10.
You're a Brian De Palma hater.
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of how many of his movies I've seen. I'm suspecting you've seen quite a bit more than I have. So, I mean, it's possible.
I remember one time someone asked a question, which director had the best 5 consecutive movies in a row that they've directed?
Huh.
Like, if it wasn't for Home Movies, which is a movie that De Palma directed, when was it, maybe late 70s? If it wasn't for that movie, he would have had, what was it, Carrie, The Fury, Dressed to Kill.
Looks like Blood and Scarface.
Yeah, blowout, Scarface,
and Body Double.
and even Body Double if you wanted to throw that in. He had a really good run of movies, I think, at that time.
Now that you mention it, and I actually forgot about this movie, but you reminded me. The Fury is a movie I hated also. So maybe I do
See?
have.
Yeah.
I mean, now I've not seen that one in years, and I've only seen it once. So it's very possible when I see it again, it might be okay. And in our fairness, he did direct The Untouchables, and I enjoyed that in Untouchables. So he's okay.